So in this video we're going to show you how to install tile with Schluter Ditra over a radiant floor substrate. This is a MDF substrate covered in foil. Let's get into it. Here you can see me pre-cutting my Ditra mat to fit my area. I've already vacuumed and cleaned the surface. I use the Schluter Ditra notch trowel. It's 11/64 notch. Once you've got your Ditra laid down into your thin set, I use a magnesium float to press and make sure I have good contact between the Ditra mat and the thin set. I'm using an unmodified thin set. Good creamy consistency to it. A little bit thin. Makes it easier to work and get pressed and get a good bond between the Ditra mat and the thin set. When you need to cut a smaller piece, I tend to use a razor knife or a pair of scissors. Here you can see me starting my layout, trying to find the center of the room to where the largest full pieces towards the edges without any slivers. Out of frame, you can't see the stairway that you come into. I started on with full tiles on that stairway to maximize the look as you come up the stairs. These are 15 3/4 slate tile, natural stone. I'm using the LevTech anti-lippage system, which I really like. Using 16th inch spacers, pretty much my go-to. I'm a fan of small grout lines, very minimal. So I started with my starter course down the middle of the room to give me a starting point each direction, because I knew this was going to be more than a one-day install. If you're using this Ditra mat, you'll realize it eats thin set up like crazy. The notches and the squares in the Ditra mat take a lot more thin set than you'd normally use on just a flat surface, say cement board. So this is day one of tile install. Here's day two, working it myself into a corner, making sure I work out of that corner so I can get every piece put in the way it needs to be. I use a wet saw for all my cuts. A lot of guys will use a snap cutter, which is just fine if your cuts are going to be buried. I prefer to just have one tool to do the job instead of multiple. As you're setting this tile, make sure you're putting your notches on the Ditra mat and back butter your tiles. Put a thin coat to make sure you have good bondage between the tile and the Ditra mat. Most tile jobs you see that fail will be because of a failure to back butter their tiles. Here you can see I was mixing some more thin set using Milwaukee's M18 mud mixer. Pretty nice to not have to string a cord out to mix up your thin set. This video is all shot with the time-lapse cameras of Fitis ATL 200. There was another camera on site, my Breno 200 time-lapse, which the footage will come up to in a minute. This Fitis shoots in 1080, awesome camera, Wi-Fi setup. I absolutely love it. Here's where we get into grout. I prefer the silicone grout floats. This one's from Custom Building Products. Work your grout in 45s, work it, make sure you press it into the joints nice and firm. Here I'm starting my cleanup process, wiping the grout, making sure not to pull too much out of the joints. You want to have just a small indent. Once you've cleaned it, you should still have a small haze on the tile. You don't want to over clean, you'll oversaturate your grout. Here's next day, I'm doing a final clean, just a quick wipe with just water and a clean sponge. Getting ready for sealing. When I apply my sealer on floors, I prefer to use a foam roller. That way I'm not on my hands and knees. I roll it out in a nice even coat. This is a low sheen satin finish sealer.